Hey yo, you know what, let's start a little bit early. Can you guys hear me? Dying? I know you're in here somewhere. Dying inside. Who else do we have here? Okay, we're basically live. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Awesome, thanks. Expecting what voice? Yeah, I told you my voice is weird. Oh, actually, let me turn this thing on. It might soothe your pain a little. Here. Does this help? Does this help? Does it make everything better? By the way, it's like really cold right now. My voice is shaking. Maybe that's why. I know there's a few people popping on. There's Kuro and let me check. So I'll wait a few minutes and I'll start properly. So how's everyone's day? It's morning for me. It's probably nighttime for you guys. Okay, I guess I can start a little bit early. I'll just do a notification on Discord in case more people want to pop on. 1 second. Okay. So, let's start. It's exactly 10 AM right now. And this stream is supposed to give you guys a quick rundown on preparing your models for porting into VaM. And we're going to start with the Blender version first because Blender, most of the files on Smutba are based on Blender and they're the best variation of models. Yeah, they've got like furry models, realistic models, anime models. So that's going to be the best place to start. So I'm just going to do a quick rundown on how to actually navigate Blender first, because this might be a bit overwhelming. And there might be other guides on Discord or online. I think the best well-known guide is probably the one on the NOOC Discord, but that one is based on using ZBrush. Now, ZBrush is not really recommended for several reasons, and that's because 1, it's paid, 2, it's extremely difficult to navigate, and 3, if you want to get like meshes into ZBrush, you need like bridges. So you need to download like DAS to ZBrush bridges and all that. And all that can mess with like your scale settings. And for a beginner, that's really suboptimal, because what that does is that it adds like a little bit of uncertainty, and you definitely don't need that as a beginner. So furry models when? Pretty much never. Unless you're talking about cat girls, in which case, yeah, it's fine. No, it's just too difficult. Yeah, so when you open up Blender, and I recommend that you get Blender 4.0 and 3.0, and the little like 3.12, 3.4, it doesn't really matter too much, but I recommend you get like at least one 3.0 and one 4.0 version of Blender, and Blender will actually allow you to do that. You can save it in different locations. You can even pop in an SSD if you're traveling, like I did at the beginning of the year. Hey Kuro, what's up? Is the music too loud, by the way? Anyways, yeah, so I'm using 3.0 right now first. I'm just going to do like a quick rundown on the basic navigation, because what happens with Blender is that it can be a bit overwhelming. So when you open like a random Blender file, let me give you guys an example. I'm gonna open, let's say, this one. Hang on. I'm gonna open a Genshin one. Yeah, it's gonna look like this, and you won't know what's up. Like half the shit's in Chinese, because you're using like the saved Blender file from the maker, so it could be in Chinese, and you get stuff basically thrown like everywhere. So I'm gonna go back to this one. Yeah, I'm going back to this one, and I'm just gonna give you guys a quick rundown first, so you guys don't get overwhelmed. First thing you have to notice is that these up here, there's a layout, shading and all that, and sometimes it'll throw you straight into shading, which is this one here. And no, you're gonna have to move to layout first. This navigation wheel, sometimes it's missing or it's down here. And if it's missing, you have to try and track this down and just turn it back on. And sometimes this itself might be down here as well, but now that you know it's what this does, then you just have to turn this back on. Sometimes there'll be like weird shit like the wire grids, wireframes. You just have to turn that off. So be aware, this thing can be like down here or down here. It doesn't really matter, but know what it does. Hey, Box Tacky, yay. Thanks for joining in. And then after that, you have the object mode bar here. I don't know what this is called actually, but what you do is that what this does is that it sometimes throws you into edit mode, but you really want to be in object mode when you're preparing a model first. So if it's in edit mode, you see these things here, and you have to just get out of it and go into object mode. Otherwise, things don't move the way that you really want to. Oh, and here, the render settings. Sometimes it'll be like this, or this. This one has Blender shading. So I'm not going to be on this because if I click this, it's going to apply the textures and you can see boobas and all that, and it's going to throw me like out of YouTube. It's probably going to kill the live stream. So I'm going to try and avoid that. But if you're trying to load the textures and all that with the Blender rendering, it's best to have this on. But this would save you a lot of processing power, and that's what we're going to stay on today. If it looks like this, don't freak out, just pop back into here. Next thing you need to know is that the bar is over here, and this is actually quite important. And you'll see later on that sometimes models get loaded on. The armatures might be in like 0.01 or like some fucked up settings. Ideally, you want it like this. Sometimes there'll be like a negative 90 angle here. That's fine. That's just how it reorientates. Just leave it in that orientation is fine. You're really concerned with the scaling. So as long as the scaling and the location is okay, you don't really care what rotation it's on. Second thing is that there's this little wrench here, and that has modifications on there. So you'll see later on, especially the Genshin models, there'll be like surface body mask, which makes it so that parts of the mesh does not appear and you will not be able to interact with that at all. Which means that you will not be able to actually export that part of the mesh. So you're gonna have to try and find it. Sometimes it's in Chinese and all that, or in Japanese. You're gonna have to recognize the little icon and just click cancel. And if you don't do that, it's just gonna cause you pain. I've had instances where I thought I bought like a full model, and I was like really mad because I thought I bought a full model, but when I opened the Blender, like there's shit missing. And the guy's like, no, you just have to turn this off. So I'm just going to tell you guys ahead of time that that can sometimes happen. There'll be stuff there like, what else? Apply armature. So sometimes the hair, especially in fighting games, the hair will be almost horizontal and you need to pose it. And depending on what mode you're on, like edit mode or posing mode, if you're selecting a rig, there'll be a posing mode little option here. It might not apply or it might not display, so you're gonna have to turn that on from this menu. And another important one is the what's it called, solidify. So sometimes, especially on anime models, there'll be like a solidify thing here, and what that helps Blender do is to do like a cartoon kind of highlight outline thing. The problem there is that it becomes like a double layer. And when you export that, you get the double layer and it affects the wrapping, and it's going to affect the texture exporting way later down the line. So I just want to do a volume check first. Am I too loud, or is it too loud, or just a bit too soft? Can you guys keep up? Do you guys have any questions? I haven't done any live streams before, by the way, so if this all just catches flames, goes down in the fire, then it is what it is, because I haven't done this kind of shit before. And it's cold as fuck right now. My voice is shivering, probably due to the adrenaline as well, so things might not be too clear. Oh, it's fine for you? Alright, great. Do you guys have any questions, by the way? If you have any questions, yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. That's the whole point of the live stream. So if I'm going too quickly, or if the icons are not displaying properly, just let me know. Actually, let me check if my mouse is displaying properly, because I feel like it's not. Okay. Yeah, it's moving around properly. Alright. Music is too loud. Okay, I've just turned down the music. Yeah. Should be better now. Okay. Let me know if it's still too loud, because it's like a stream lag, so you guys are about 5 seconds behind. It's kind of throwing me off slightly, but I'll get used to it. It is what it is. Yep, and so the next important bit is this one, the materials tab. And this is important for quick selection. So sometimes you have sections of the model, and what this does is that it allows you to basically select that bit of the texture which corresponds to that bit of the mesh. So that just makes like for example, if there's like a body here, and there'll be something like face or body, and you just click that and you just select the body part of the texture. We should select the body part of the mesh. So it just makes things a lot simpler. And this corresponds to this down here. Right now it's in the animation tab. You're gonna have to come down here and open UV editor. So later on I'll show you. There will be a basically like a picture here, which is the texture for the model. And it's important because later on you're gonna have to check whether like tiles are overlapping. It lets you, like this thing will let you select parts of the mesh a lot easier as well. And you're gonna have to check the texture because it goes on to the exporting and the physics setting, because the physics is also like a texture thing that you have to draw on as well. So if there's any overlapping UVs, I'll get onto that later, then you're gonna have to sort that out. So this is a good tool. This and this here pretty much goes together. Okay, so that's the very basic of Blender. Let's jump into a demo. I've prepared 2 demos for you guys today. So one is a dead or alive model, which is a humanoid one, and that one is very straightforward. And then there's the Genshin one that I just showed you, which is basically the creator is very good, but it's very personalized, and for new people, I know Genshin characters are quite popular. They're probably going to try and attempt to do one. That's going to help you guys out a lot. So let's jump into the demo that I have. 1 second, let me load it up. Okay, so this is relatively simple. This is relatively simple. Whoops. This is relatively simple. This is very typical of something that you're gonna get once you load the Blender model. It's gonna ask you some random crap. You'll probably allow the execution. Oh yeah, this is just a random Etsy one that I bought. It's very cheap, but I thought that it's just a fun thing to do. It's a pre-made one. It's quite cute though, that's why I'm using it. I have, actually, you know what? I'm gonna switch it out a little bit. No, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. When you guys are sleeping. So this is a very typical kind of layout that you'll get. And you'll notice a few things. One is that this thing's pretty much in the way. You can just do this. You notice that this is already in the layout, which is good. You notice these things that you haven't seen before. These are the bones. So the bones is basically what you're going to use to pose the model. So you see here, this is in pose mode already. Ideally, you'll be in object mode, but if you want to move the thing around, like let's say you want to move the hair, you press tab and... Sorry, I'm in edit mode right now. Going back to pose mode, you click on this, you press tab button, and why is it in edit mode? Okay. Yeah, so pose mode, you press this, and it'll actually move this around. So what this does is that instead of the fighting game models, for example, the latest one I did was Jeanette. Her hair was almost horizontal. It was almost straight out like this, and I suppose there's some kind of in-game engine like gravity that will actually pull it back down. But the exported model, the hair will be almost horizontal. You're gonna have to come into here, and you're gonna have to like turn this around and fix it. Okay, so that's posing mode. But come back into object mode first. And for some of these models which have a bunch of costumes, you'll notice this, and you'll notice that they're not loading. So what you're gonna have to do is that if you want these costumes, you're gonna have to come into here and click these 2 buttons here. On occasion, you'll see a little highlight, like a little red or purple or green highlight, and the thing will be locked basically. This is what's called a driver. So if there's a highlight, you cannot select it, you're gonna have to right click it, and there'll be a selection here that says like delete driver or something, and the highlight will be gone, and you can just turn that off. So right now I'm just going to turn this back on because I'm not sure how much nudity I'm allowed on YouTube. I'll just turn this on for now. And what you want to do straight afterwards before messing with anything, even before the posing, is that you're going to have to extract the textures. So if I go into render view, you'll notice that this is not actually a grayed out model. I'm going to turn this thing off. You'll notice that this is not a grayed out model. This has actual textures. But if you look in the folder, there will just be a Blender file without the textures. Sometimes the textures will be in its own folder, but about half the time it's not. So when that happens, what you're going to do is go into the file, external data. If this is ticked, then untick it, and then go to unpacked resources. Write to the current directory, overwrite existing files. So notice here it says overwrite existing files. You're going to have to make sure it's in its own folder, otherwise it's going to overwrite whatever else is in that file. So go into, let's say you make a file called Nico or project 1. Put a Blender file there, do this, and then this will export all the textures into that file. And I might do that right now. Let me check if I've done this already. Sorry, give me a second. Display capture, 1 second. Oh, whoops. I'm supposed to do that. By the way, if you've got any questions, just type in chat while I'm doing this. I'm gonna try and get the little window here working. Oh, okay. Yep, here we go. Kuro, YouTube should automatically record this unless it's over 12 hours long, and unless something really bad happens, it's not going to go over 12 hours. I'm expecting to finish this in about 1 hour, and if there's like a Q&A afterwards, we can do that afterwards. But the main tutorial section, I'm expecting around under 1 hour. Yeah, and if you've got any questions, you can ask me at the end because, it's my first time live streaming. I'm not too good with the live streaming, so it might be a bit jumbled. Yeah. What happened to my little Ayaka? Oh, there we go. She's back. Yeah, so you'll see that this is the project folder that I've chosen. Nico is the blend file, and there's no texture files right up there. And I'm going to go into the Nico Blender. Let me turn this off. Oops. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to do the texture export. I'm going to go to external data, unpack resources, overwrite existing files. And you'll notice down here that it tells me all the textures has been exported. And if I go back into here, one moment. Yeah, you see a new folder here that says textures. And if I go into here, you see basically a giant pack of texture files. And you can see, if you're experienced enough, you can see that this is basically a DAS model. And like the DAS, what's it called? UV island setup, where you get the torsos and the legs separated with the face looking like this. And this is what you're going to need to export the textures into VaM. You're going to have to process it a bit more because VaM doesn't use the straight textures like this. You're going to have to process this again, but this is going to be what you need. So it's very important for you to have this. On another note, let me turn this off first. On another note, it's very rare, but there are some Blender files that don't use like actual textures. They use pre-rendered textures inside of Blender. From my experience, that is very, very rare. I think I've only seen one this entire time, like within 3 years, I've only seen one model like that. Just be aware that can happen, so if no textures come out, then that's probably it. Okay, so we're gonna prep this model up for exporting. So the first thing we're gonna do is to try and get the body model first. And sometimes you're gonna pick up other parts of the model, like the mouth or the insides of the eyes, yeah, parts that we don't really need. We're not going to process that here because generally this setting right now lags a bit. And we prefer to cut this out, bring it to the 3.0 model, and then process it there where there's less lag. Okay, so I'm gonna, okay, before I do that, I'm gonna check whether there's any modifiers. So there's quite a few. Oops. Come on, yeah. You notice that there's a bunch of masks here, so I probably don't want these. You can see here that they're turned off, so they're not too important. Just take these off in case it interferes with the export. Corrected smooth is fine, subdivision is fine, mesh deform is alright. So we can basically leave this as it is. VaM cannot read anything other than English. So make sure this is in English, or when you do your final texture exports, that these are in English. You can just change the name by just typing whatever in later on. Just be aware of that because I've had people reach the final stage of like clothing exports or texture exports, and they're like, it's not letting me do that. And main reason is that this is not in English. So just be aware of that. So yeah, this is a very simple model. It looks very straightforward. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to do this. I'm going to press tab. You're going to go into export and click this here. And I would strongly recommend you to right click and press add to favorites. At the moment, I already added it to my favorite. So just press this. Select this. So select it only, so you won't be getting the entire scene. You'll be only getting the things that you actually want. Make sure material groups and vertex groups are ticked. And I'm going to name this prep. That's just how I do it. It's not too important. That's what I do. There are some naming conventions later that's kind of critical because that's how I wired my rep preset files to pick up. But for now, it's not too important. So that's the body. The eyes you don't need. Don't get confused by that. Don't get too overwhelmed by that. These are bits of the clothing. These rigging you don't need. So just turn that off. Press H to hide it. The clothing. Yep, you're gonna have to get these. So check again whether there's any modifiers here. The main one you're really looking for here is the solidify one. Shrink wrap is fine, subdivision is fine. Sometimes subdivision makes the... what subdivision does is basically adds more of these here. Whoops. They add more of these here so it becomes more detailed. But sometimes you don't want that in VaM, just purely due to how clothing import into the game. Because what the game does is that the body has these little squares itself, so it'll try to match these little dots or triangles to the closest triangle to that body. And if the body has too many of these little triangles, they're all going to want to connect to the same dot basically, and the whole clothing will basically get like a really wrinkly appearance. So that's really up to you. Generally this is okay. If you get like body parts clipping through, like let's say the armpit, which is really common, then you might want to like subdivide that area. If it happens all over the body, then you might want it all over the clothing. But in this case, it looks okay, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. I'm going to leave this on as well. We'll see how that goes. So I'm going to click on this, shift click. Just shift click it, grab all of these, double check that you've got everything. Go to either export, or if you've set up the quick key like I recommended, just press Q. Make sure everything is selected with A. press A to select everything. And then I'll usually make a folder here called OBJ. Right, OBJ. Can't see my keyboard because the mic is right on top of it. And I'll probably call this clothing. So that's your clothing done. And until the clothing importing section, that's not really needed. Glasses, these are usually going to be CUA atoms. CUA stands for Custom Unity Asset or something like that. Basically, it's the stuff that you're going to have to go into the CUA manager for. These don't export like clothing, they're very static items that you just throw on the face. So I'm going to click on this, press tab to get into edit mode. This is edit mode, by the way. This is object mode. This is edit mode. Press A to select everything. If you haven't set it to favorites, then go into here, select FBX. FBX is mainly for CUAs. For the purpose of virt-a-mate importing, you're gonna want you're gonna want FBX. So remember to add it to your favorites. Go into here. There's gonna be a whole bunch of options here. And I have a pre-made one that I just basically use every time, just this. Make sure you select these, and then you add it as a preset by pressing this plus button. And it'll ask you to make a name. I named mine Rig. This was a while back. So I named mine Rig, and then, yeah, just use this set. I'll call these Nico glasses. But not one moment, let me save this and I'll get back to you. Okay, so but not asked, so you save the body as OBJ alone and the clothes alone. Yes, you want to separate them. So basically the next step after this is that you want to scale the body and cut out any excesses that you don't need for the wrapping process. If you go on the Discord, one of the required files is a program called Wrap3D. And what that does is that it does a very imperfect job. It's very imperfect, let me emphasize that. But it basically wraps the DES 3D model, which is what's imported into VaM, around the model that you just saved. There will be some fiddling in the middle, but for the purpose of preparing the body, you save them separately. I hope that's clear. Yep. So you got these glasses. That's done, so I'm gonna hide it. And here's the next bit that's going to be quite tricky. You have the armature here. And you have the hair here. And for most models, you will want the hair to have a little bit of wiggle. So you're gonna need this. And the good news is that you won't have to do anything. The weighting is already preset, so we're not going to get rid of this. We actually want this. What you want to check is that the scale is like there's 1, because if it's not, when you pair them again, it's going to apply that scale again to the mesh, and it's going to fly all over the place. It's going to go like shoot up into the airs, or it's going to shrink, or it's going to go to the left, the right, rotate, or whatever. So make sure the scale is at 1, everything is at 0. And then go back to here and make sure that you the same is applied to here. So here you'll see that the location and the scale is a bit off. So what you will have to do is press Ctrl A and then apply all transforms. So all of this is now set to where that hair is here. Now sometimes the mesh doesn't listen. You know what I mean when you run into that issue. So sometimes the mesh doesn't listen when you do that. And that's because Blender works on the hierarchy. The mesh is bound to the armature, which is the rig. So you will have to apply this first, and then go back down here and then apply that. If you apply this without applying that, without making sure that this is fine, then you're going to run into problems later on. I'm sure that people might run into this issue if it ever pops up and you're unsure. Just shoot me a DM. I'll try to fix that for you. But right now you have an overall idea. So let me get a drink first. My voice is going. Yep. So what you're going to do next is check that this has some what's called weighting onto the hair. So I'm going to click on these little sticks here. I'm going to shift click the mesh. I'm going to check that there's armatures being applied. Whoops. And oh, okay, this is really strange. Okay, so this is a static hair items. This hair here, you notice that it's all red. If there's bits moving, then there should be like bits of green. What this really represents is the intensity that the hair moves. So either this doesn't match up with this hair, or this hair is not supposed to move, which is really strange. Let me see if there's other hair here. This is really strange. This is an older file, by the way. This is a 2020 file. So maybe the hair is like this. I'll look into it later. I'll give a better example when we do the Genshin model. But for now, this is what we're gonna this is how we're gonna process this. So make sure you have this here highlighted, and then you shift click the hair. You go to files, export FBX again, and just do Nico hair. And by the way, sometimes this is attached to like an overall body armature, and you're gonna have to separate that. Do I have an example? Maybe not now, I'll do it later. But sometimes this is attached to the overall. This is attached to the overall rig, where you gonna have to press this, press P, and then it's not letting me do that right now for some reason. Any case, this one's a bit strange. Anyways, that's pretty much all you need from this file here. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is the Genshin one, which is a bit more difficult. Let me pull that up. Yeah, save it, why not? I'd usually just call this parts. We have pressed open. Okay, so this is a Genshin model, and this one is a bit more complicated. All the stuff that I said to look out for will probably apply to this model as well. As you can see, parts of it is in Chinese because the creator is probably Taiwanese or Chinese. Just make sure you're in the layout mode. The navigation menu is here. You'll see like these little blocks, and that's because you have to go into here. Just turn this off wireframe. If you don't want any of these, you just want to take a screenshot, just press this, turns everything off. And this model, you will see that there are shape keys, so you can just turn that off. Shape keys you can find in this little triangle here. You can turn that off to adjust the model. Usually when I do porting, I want the model to be as accurate as possible to the source. So I usually turn these off. If people want to edit them, then they can do that themselves inside of VaM. What's this? Breast fix. Yeah, these are just, might keep that. I'm not entirely sure what this is. Yeah. So you come into here, you want to get the body first, same as last time. So what you're going to do is that I'm going to turn off the clothing. And immediately you'll notice that there's like a rig here, but the body is missing. There's like a shell, body is missing. Everything looks kind of weird and it's a bit overwhelming. It's not really that big of a deal because you can just go into here. Actually, you know what? Let me turn that off. Yeah, it's closer to the actual model now. Yep. So you're gonna go into here, go into modifiers, and you'll see there's all these little things that I told you guys to look out for. This is the mask icon. This is the icon that makes things disappear. This is the solidify icon. This is the one that makes the double layer outline. So you're going to want both of these gone. So you'll notice that when I click onto here, there's a little orange outline. So this modifier only applies to this certain section of the body. And you're going to have to do this for every single section. You're going to have to come into the face, the head, whatever objects there are, and turn them off manually. So for this, I'm going to have to... Oh, that's a stocking, actually. Yeah. That's the body here. So I'm going to turn off the foot mask. I'm going to turn off the... whatever the hell this is. I'm going to turn off the one that makes a double layer. I'm going to turn off the booba hider. I'm going to turn off the other booba hider. I'm going to turn off the... yeah. So now you have the entire body to export. I'm going to do the same to the face as well. I'm going to go into this. I'm going to remove the double layer. I'm going to double check that everything is here. The hair is a bit in the way right now, so I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove this for now as well. Don't need that. So as you can see here, there is the head. If I press tab, you can see that basically covers everything on the head. Let me check. Okay, except for the eyes, which is fine. Shift click, tab, do this. Select it only, material groups and vertex groups, and then we call this prep, like same as last time. And then next we will want the rest of the facial details. This is very common with anime models, by the way. The little like eyebrows and all that, they're all in the little separate bits. So just go into here, do this again, new folder. Oops, misspelled that. I'd call this details usually. Oh, by the way, I made you guys a preset folder before. Let me open that up. Okay, so before I made, so the folder looks like this, and before I made a little preset folder, if you guys remember correctly. And what you can actually do is that you go into the preset folder, you just copy everything there, and just do that. I might need to update the preset folder again because usually it comes with like a folder with like OBJ and all that, so I don't have to keep making a new folder every single time. I'll let you guys know when that's been updated. Anyways, going back to here. Do you guys have any questions, by the way? Anyways. You grab this. Next, you'll want the clothing, like before. So things like the hairpin. Actually, not the hairpin. The hairpin will probably fall on the CUA item. I'm going to want her default clothing, which is this one. just gonna double check that. I want to double check that that fits her properly. Why is it doing that? Yeah, because sometimes the little modifiers, they might affect the shape a little bit without you knowing, and then your clothes kind of warp a little bit. So I'm just double checking for import. Okay, so I can just grab this. You'll notice even the clothing has a outline, so you don't want that. Just close that. Outline, close that. The little earrings as well. You don't want the outline. You don't want the outline here. Just make sure that they're all gone because it's a lot easier to process it now than doing it manually in the last stages of your port. Grab these as well. You can always double check something by pressing H. If it disappears, then you have it selected. So I'm not really missing anything here. Press Tab and then press A to select everything. Save as OBJ and I'll call this clothing. Next is the hair. I'm gonna hide these bits because I don't need them right now, or ever basically. And where is the hair? The hair is here. With the hairpin. I'll do the hair first. Yeah, I should do that. You get into the habit of basically analyzing these different models. Every one of them is a little bit different, and that's where the fun is basically. Every one of them is their own little puzzle, so you're gonna try and figure things out as you go. Okay, so this is the body rig. No, you notice like little bits where it's connected to the hair, so the hair rig is there. You notice as well, all this should be on the right-hand side, but it's on the left-hand side. I'm just guessing. I'm guessing here that when you read books in Asia, they read it the other way around. So maybe that's why it doesn't here. But if you prefer this to be on this side, you can just always come into here and just do the outliner, and it'll be on this side. Don't really need this part, so I'm just gonna yeah, back to here. This is your bones tab, and if okay, so Box Techie asked for the Genshin models. Are you using a model imported from an MMD model? No, this is a Blender model. This is probably the most annoying and difficult type of model to prepare before importing into VaM, and that's why I'm making an entire tutorial just for this format. If it's a MMD model, it's a lot more simple, but you'll need an extra add-on to allow Blender to open MMD models. So this is a Blender model. Maybe they took this model from an MMD model and processed it as a Blender file, but for all intents and purposes, we count this as a Blender model. And it's processed as a Blender model. Okay, so we're gonna try and grab the hair. Before that, let me double check that it's actually rigged to this mesh. Oh boy. It's because the hair. Oh, okay, I get what's going on. Yeah, so you notice that it wasn't really selecting properly. It's because the outline's on. Yeah, so once I turn that off, it looks a lot neater. Yeah, this one's the outline. Don't be afraid to click on random shit as well, because you can always Control Z. I think Control Z is the undo, and it lasts for about 10 or 20 steps. Don't go too crazy, but know that you can press Control Z to undo your last step, and then Control Shift Z to repeat the step. So I'm just making sure that this rig actually applies to the hair before I export it. Oh, and make sure when you do this, you press the little sticks and then the mesh. Otherwise, this will not show up. Okay, I don't know what the hell's happening here. If this is correct, then when you click on the stick, then there should be like a little green thing that shows up, that shows the weighting, but it's not for some reason. I'm gonna try and export it the way, like the usual way anyways, because I feel like it might be a thing in 4.0. I'll bring it to 3.0 to see, to really double check, but for now I'm just gonna ignore like that little error. Click on the rig. So right now I want only the hair rig. I don't want the body rig. The body rig does nothing for importing models into VaM. What happens in the importing process is that you throw it into DAZ3D. DAZ3D will actually apply its own bones to the model. So you don't need the body models. You only need the little bones for the bits that move, like the hair or little random accessories. I'm gonna click on this. You press the number pad full stop button, and it'll show these things. It'll focus on these. Do this. Shift click this here to open everything up, and I'm gonna press full stop again. Full stop again here, just to find the bones. And the bones are usually neatly labeled here. They're usually in their own, like right after the head bone. So it'll be like head, and then you can ignore the tooth. So usually I'll just drag, press this, and do that. And that should be the head bones. Okay. Yep, that should be it. And what you do here that I was not able to do in the last Blender demo is that how to separate the head bones from the actual body bones. So you here press P for Peter, and press separate bones. And they should be separated. So if I go back into object mode, I click on these here, I press H, they should be hidden, and they should be their own thing. Now what I want to check now is that these are scaled correctly. So as you can see, this guy's on scales here, and this guy's on scales here. And you'll notice that the Y section has a modifier, so if you press 0, it's original here, but you don't want it there, you want it here. So you're going to press Ctrl A, apply all transforms, and it's going to pop into 0. This is going to be the default position from now on. Click back into the mesh, it's fine. I want to double check the main mesh now, actually, in case there's any modifiers that might. Yeah, so the main mesh here is that what you'll see here, if I press 0 here, it's going to move everything back again. And I don't want that. So I'm going to apply this to the main mesh as well. I should have done this at the start, by the way. I was a bit naughty. But doing here shouldn't really affect anything. So, yep. I'm going to hide this. And then this is a very important thing for hair, and it's going to catch a lot of you guys out. When you pair the mesh to the hair armatures, the bones, you select the hair first, the mesh first, and then the sticks. You can't do it the other way around, otherwise it's going to cause issues. So you press on the mesh first, and then you control click the little sticks, and you press Control P, and armature deform. And what you will notice is that in the Blender overview, one moment, after you separated this mesh here, it'll create its own, basically it'll cut this out, make its own thing here, and you'll notice that the hair has now moved to this this hair armature. So I want to double check again that the weighting has transferred. So I'm going to now press the sticks to the hair. I'm going to go into weight paint, and I'm going to see if I'm almost sure that this thing is bugging out. I'm going to 3.0, and I'll show what I mean later on. so this is... Yep, okay. So I'm gonna export this now. Yep. Go into the preset that you should have saved. And I'll call this, what's her name? Her name is really difficult. Father? I think people were calling her Daddy. Daddy here. Export. And that should be it for this model. If you want to grab the other clothing as well, it's fine. But I usually concern myself with the primary port first, all the bunny suits and all that. I'll do that later. So I will save this under parts. Never override your main file. You might need that. It's best to back everything up as much as you can. Don't override anything. You never know, especially when you're starting, when you have to actually roll back things. Also, Blender is an asshole, so there's nothing stopping me from clicking on this too many times and saving it automatically. It doesn't have like a little override notification. It will just do it. So be very careful when you save your Blender files. Make sure the names don't overlap. Okay, so now we're moving on. Oh my god, it's over an hour. Okay, I don't know how he does that. Sorry guys if this is going over time. I promised an hour, but this is taking a lot longer than I expected. Okay. 3.0. You notice that in the corner here, it says Blender 3.0. And why I use 3.0 with 4.0 is for a very important reason. And that reason is because if I go into, and I bring in the model, you'll notice that the layout is slightly different. When I bring in the model, anime. Okay guys, are you guys all here? I'm gonna say something really important, and if you don't follow the step, you're gonna screw up the entire port and you're gonna have to start all over again. Like, I'm gonna do like an Ayaka, like, is it tracking me? Like, big soy face. I'm like zoom in right now, just to tell you, this step is very important, and that is going to keep vert order and make sure this is ticked. And when you take this model out, make sure that this is ticked. This is very important. If you don't tick this, you're gonna have to restart everything. It's like Super Mario, you die, you're gonna have to go back to round 1. So make sure this is ticked, because if this is not ticked, when you go into DAZ, what will happen is that DAZ will see this like edited model. It won't know where all the little dots will go. It doesn't know like the order that it goes, and it's going to throw the entire thing apart. You don't see the pop-up window. Oh shit. Wait. Oh my god. Okay. Oh boy. Hang on. Five view. Okay. Is this better? Okay. So when you save, it should be showing up. Okay, so I'm going to lean in again just to re-emphasize this. Make sure that this thing here at the bottom, under geometry, you open geometry, go to the very bottom, keep vertex order. Make sure that this is ticked. Otherwise, when you've done your morphing and you've done all your editing on the meshes, it remembers like where everything goes, so that when it goes into DAZ, it doesn't throw all the little dots out of place. And I've had that happen once, and you basically have to come back to this step here, and you have to redo everything all over again. And this is the one thing that doesn't show up in guides, and it screws everyone who wants to like have a like a VaM porting like side hobby and all that. That will ruin everything, and people will never come back again because this is never mentioned. It's mentioned like on the Discord, like somewhere, like in the chat somewhere, oh hey, yeah, click this. But in the main guides, yeah. And also, you see this mesh here? This is the second thing that's going to throw you off. And this is a very important thing, and that's why I want to do like a whole video, because I am sure that people will miss this. If I go to statistics, you notice these numbers here, and I'm going to turn off the... Okay, it's showing. Yeah, you notice this at the very top left corner. It shows the number of vertices, the number of edges, the number of faces. Under no circumstances do you ever change this. You never like don't go, oh well, you know, I can subdivide this and make this better. No, you can't do that. This number has to stay exactly the same way. You cannot subtract any number. You cannot take like a number from the eyes and add it into here, and you know, you think to yourself, hey, it's the same number. You can't do that. The number of vertices and all of these for each part cannot change, because when you throw this into DAZ, what DAZ does is that it scans the mesh. It looks at where the like, it's got little indicators where to rig the models, and it will also look up basically like the number of vertices and how it's arranged to decide whether or not it's a DAZ model. And only when it recognizes that model will it accept it as a morph that you can put it into VaM. So if you don't do that, then you're screwed. You have to go back to round 1 again. So this is very important. This number here, make sure it never changes. Make sure you don't delete anything accidentally. Okay? I cannot emphasize this enough. Alright, so I'm gonna take a drink here because my voice is getting a bit hoarse. Oh my god, it's been an hour. Okay, so if you go into the pack that I attached to Discord, and if you throw it into this file, you basically have two things, a bunch of things actually, and two of them are the anime. Sorry, I have some gas. The anime mesh, so this will work with DAZ. It's pre-made. You see that the eyes are already kind of like pre-arranged. Stuff like the nostrils are already flattened a bit. You can make this a bit more flat if you want, but this will save you a lot of time. The other one that I attached to the, the other one that's in the folder is the default body, which is this one. And the anime one is basically a highly modified version of this one. So you'll notice that this does not change. It's the same. And when I go into here, it's exactly the same. This is a modified version. So if you're planning to import a realistic, let's say, a Tekken model, use this one. If you want to do an anime model like the one that I just did, you can use this one. I'll try to throw maybe a few more variations on, but this one is a bit more cleaned up. So yeah, either way, this is going to save you a lot of time. Okay, now we're going to have to scale the model, and we're going to cut out the unnecessary fat from the model as well. So we're going to stick with the Genshin model, because that's the most troublesome one. And you'll notice that she's tiny, like absolutely small. And that is fine, because we're going to scale her up. MMD models, you're going to scale her up by about a factor of 10. These ones about 100, but you know, you can just see by eye, right? You can just tell yourself. Oh, that's the wrong one. Make sure that's actually selected. By 100. And you'll see that she scales up. I'm going to apply it, all transforms. And what we're trying to do here is that we're going to prepare her for the wrapping process. And so what you want to do is to actually have the shoulders meet. Like this. The shoulders are level. And then do this. And save your file straight afterwards as a reminder to yourself. So the scale is 1.04. So you know that when you import the clothing or the hair, for example, I'm gonna do the hair right now. I'm gonna double check the weighting anyways. There the hair, I'm gonna import it. Notice that the file is 1.04, so that's about effective 104. Like this here. Save it. Make sure it's applied properly. Yep. I'm gonna check that this actually works. Yeah. Okay. So the thing that I couldn't show you before that wasn't showing up is the weighting. So you want to check that the bones actually apply to the hair. So I'm gonna go back to the start. I'm gonna select these little sticks here. I'm gonna select the hair. I'm going to weight paint, and I'm gonna shift select any of these bits. Sometimes it doesn't because they might be extension bones, but generally you should at least see one set of bones that have these on it, which means that the red is more intense, the green is less intense, so when she moves her hair around, it's gonna wave. Okay, so we now check that's fine, so we're gonna leave it as it is. We're gonna go back to object mode. I can close this. Now that she's scaled up properly, we're gonna have to remove the unnecessary bits that we don't need for the wrapping process. By the way, I know someone's gonna ask that the default, this model here, this is the, what's it called? The Genesis 2 base. I'm gonna check that height as well. Got the right height. Yep, it's fine. The Genesis 2 base is in the T pose. The preparation model is in an A pose. Will that affect anything? Not really. So you can throw this into wrap, it's fine. It'll move the hands into this position. In the wrap file, you might want to add points in between the fingers just to make it a little bit more accurate. But generally, this is perfectly fine. I haven't had a single issue. The main issue I've ever run into is if the fingers are like sticking out here. You might want to tuck it in a little bit so that when Daz applies the bones, it doesn't apply it apply the wrong way around, so the thumbs move backwards or something. But that's the only time that you really have to adjust the the pose of the model. Okay, so we are going to have to come into here, and the bits that we need is just the shell. So we do not need the teeth, and this is a material thing that I told you about. Okay, it doesn't have the teeth itself, so that's fine. We're just gonna press Ctrl and plus, and it's going to, what Ctrl and plus does is that it's just going to do this. It's just going to spread all over until it finds a bit that's not connected. So we don't need the tongue. The tongue we already have in the in this model. There should be a, whoops. Yeah, in this model, we're keeping this, so we don't need the teeth and tongue from the donor model, you can say. We don't need the teeth. We don't need the eye sockets. And you don't need these bits here. You basically want to have it very flat. These here I don't think you really need anyway. Just like this. Yeah. Okay, and these are the eyelashes. So you'll notice that down here, you see the UV maps. This is extremely useful for when you want to select little bits of the model without playing with this up here. Fill out the face. So only get the face. So I can select these bits here from down here, so I don't have to play around with the whole display. You see it? Very easy. So these are the eyebrows. They're basically little accessories. The way that I put them into VaM, I do them as like a clothing. So I'm just going to cut these out. They're not going to be part of the face mesh. And I will save these as details 2 probably. And here, keep these here, make sure these are ticked. Let me double check the stream. It's displaying, right? No, it's not. Why is it not displaying? Sorry about that, guys. I'm gonna figure it out for the next stream, but for this stream, just be aware that you can come down and you save it. At the bottom geometry, there's a 2 things at the bottom that says polygroups and keep vertex order. It's not too important, but it's just good practice. And I'll call this details 2. Okay, and you're saving these for later for the clothing export. You won't need this for about 2 steps. I'll put these back together. And some people might ask, well, do they need to be in one solid piece? They just need to be in one object. Though you don't want floating geometries, you don't want non-manifold, but I haven't really run into them ever since I started using this process, so just follow what I do, you should be fine. And then I will save this as... Sorry, my voice is going again. I'm going to save this as rep ready. Yep. Yep. And that's important because when you use my files, the rep files that I've given you on Discord, it automatically picks up the file name rep ready for the wrapping file. So you will not have to like play around with trying to find your material file or OBJ file. It'll be loaded on automatically. And for this one as well, call this G2B, and make sure you call this G2B as well because the rep file will reference this name in your folder. So when you open rep, it's going to automatically load it and the points will already be on that model. So you won't have to, well, you can add more actually, but you don't have to. Okay, and that's that. And for all intents and purposes, this is the step 1 of the entire process. Next step will be going on to wrapping, which will be the next stream. The next stream I will cover MMD models. And I will cover FBX models, and I will cover the wrapping process as well. It's an entirely different process. I need to set that up for another stream. So I will do that next week. So yeah, Blender process preparation, that's pretty much all you have to do. I'm gonna save this again. I'll go through the next one as well. Like I'll just speed run the next one. Not the next one, the other model. Sorry, it's still a bit early. It's about like 10 a.m. or something right now. No, fuck me, it's 11 a.m. Yeah, I'll speed run the first one that we did, so you guys get a better idea of how this thing goes without me talking over it. Oh great, I forgot to add on the... Give me a second. Oh, it's very different for KK models. It's extremely different for KK models. For KK models, you're going to need a whole add-on. You obviously need Koikatsu. What it basically does is that there's a plugin that lets you rip the KK models as an MMD model, But in the middle of that wrapping, you're gonna have to have a Blender plugin that opens up that file and process it into an MMD file, which is then baked with shading applied. It's basically a whole ton of shit in the middle. The good news is that it's automated. The bad news is that it's quite technical. But once you get that technicality sorted, and you use the plugins and you have the right settings and let the automated process run, then the preparation step is, I would say it's easier than the Blender version, but it's harder than the MMD version. And I'm going to do an entire stream on that. Because the entire process, even though it's automated, it's like 30 minutes of like computer processing. I'll probably do like a Q&A at the same time. Okay, so I'm gonna do like a little speed run here with the default model. Oh, hang on. That's the default model. The height is default as well, so I'm gonna have to scale this up by about 100. Apply it. Shrink her down a bit. Save it as 0.95 for reference. Yeah, if you've got any questions, just ask me, because I'm basically done with the main tutorial process. I'm just doing the second model as like a fast speed run. So you guys get like another, sorry, another point of view of how to do this whole process. I don't need these. Okay, that's not good. So I'm just trying to cut out the unnecessary bits here. It's not too much. Not too much. Because a lot of this is on the DAS model already. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, my Ayaka avatar is from Etsy. I'm pretty sure you can just go on Etsy and look up like Ayaka VTuber avatar. It's very cute. My rigging is complete shit because I'm using an Android phone. I'm not supposed to use an Android phone for like any kind of VTubing. You usually want to use an iPhone. Also, the mic is right in front of my face as well, so it's not really picking up anything. I do want to look at my live stream later on, just to listen to my own voice and see how spastic this whole model is. Oh, right. I forgot. I did tell you guys that I have like another model that I can play around with. Let's do this one. Yeah. Here you go. You guys awake yet? Yeah, I'm just planning to like do a different VTuber model. I'm planning to do a different VTuber model every stream. I'm just gonna buy like a different model for every stream and just play around with it. You know, seems like fun. Anyways, speed running through this. You want to cut out as much as the lips as possible up to the edge so that it doesn't like take away from the actual lips. Yeah, it really activates your almonds, doesn't it, dying inside? I'm surprised your YouTube name is the same as your Discord name. Like, not to say that's bad, but I'm just surprised. Oh, that's part of the eyebrows. You're gonna need that later, so just cut that out. And that's about it. That's about, oh wait, it's missing a bit. Missing some bits. Why is it missing some bits? Oh, that's really strange. I'll be honest. It doesn't really matter anyway. I'll just take that off. So this is not part of the G2B model, so you can kind of hack and slash a little bit. It doesn't really matter. Only really applies to the G2B model. Don't delete anything though. Just cut it out. Don't delete anything. You never know when you might actually need this. All your usernames are dying inside lows. Well, that's good. That's good. And then for this model, that's about it. I want to double check her hair, whether it's actually rigged up properly, because it wasn't showing it properly in the other Blender version. So do this. Yeah, you can see right away there's weighting already. So it's probably fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's perfectly okay. Turn this on. Yep. And then save this as rep ready. And then save this as G2B. By the way, I need to emphasize again, don't fuck with this model. Don't screw with the default model. Don't subtract, subdivide, cut out, cut and paste. Aside from sculpting it, don't fuck with it. Okay, make sure, again, this stays the same. And when you save it, you have to go to geometry and keep vertex order. Yep, and that's done. And that's it for this tutorial. I'll stay online for a little bit if you've got any questions. But if you guys have something to do, you want to watch another stream, then you're free to go. I'll be online for another half an hour. I'll just be messing around. Thanks for coming, you guys. It's my first stream, by the way. Tell me how it went. I know that I was a bit nervous at the start. I was probably talking too fast. I was shaking a little bit as well from the cold and the adrenaline. I'll try to improve things a little bit more next time. The flow was a bit, I don't know. Yeah, I have to do a little bit better next time, but thanks for coming. Oh, thanks, Dying. Yeah, you said my voice was weird or something. And yeah, I told you my voice is a bit weird. I speak too fast. I lived in too many countries. Yeah, I lived in New Zealand, so I've got like a little bit of like fucked up Aussie accent. And then I went to Asia and I picked up like a bunch of accents. My friends are American, so I picked up like a bit of an American accent. And yeah, sometimes I'm a bit hard to understand. Alright, thanks Solus 2. Really appreciate you for coming. If you've got any questions about this whole process, I will be very happy to answer you. Because this process, especially the bit with the keep vertex order and the number of vertices and all that, that part will fuck you up. And it's never really properly explained. And I'd rather people like get to step 3 than fuck up, than get to step 1 and fuck up and have to repeat step 2 and 3. Yeah, by the way, do you guys want me to place today's models onto the Discord so you guys can actually play with it? I think that might be a good idea. Yeah, so before next stream, once again, I'll probably cover exporting through FBX, which might go through DAZ. I might explain a bit of how to do the DAZ models as well, because those are FBX too. I will explain how to do the MMD models. XPS as well, because XPS is super straightforward. And then I'll explain the wrapping. Hopefully it'll be done within an hour. I keep saying an hour, but time goes really quickly when you're streaming, apparently. It feels like 15 minutes for me. Oh no, Box Techie. That Cyclops model, it's doable. But did you remember when I say that all the verts have to stay the same? So you can't take away any of these verts, or you can't add any of these verts? You're gonna have to do some massive plastic surgery. You're gonna have to like collapse the nose and somehow like join these two bits together and hide one of the eyes behind one another. I know there was a morph on the hub that you were telling me about, but I could not get that to work, and it's for some reason why I can't do furry models. Like, some things just don't click with me, like anime models was a bit difficult. Especially the eyes and stuff initially, but it's just the initial process. Once you've got that first mesh in, once you've got like a mesh with the, let me save this. Once you've got the mesh with the anime proportions, let me try and find this. Yeah, once you have like a mesh with the anime proportions where like this is all spaced out, then you're pretty much good to go. You know, it's like making like a soup. Once you have a stock, things become exponentially easier. It's just this first, like the first thing that you have to do that's difficult. Yeah, so next stream I will probably cover those bits. The wrapping is actually pretty straightforward because I've basically done 90% of the job for you. It's just really like explaining how to navigate the interface. For wrapping, that program, it's something that you have to buy. I mean, it's not something that you have to buy, but it's something that the program expects you to buy. There is a way around that. I'm not sure if I can say this out loud, but it's basically an open secret. You can basically use that trial version forever if you want to. That's why the company came out with like another version, but you know, we're not going to use that, right? You know, wink wink, nudge nudge. I'm going to tell you the name of that file, what you want to do with that file. It's all up to you. Yeah, it's like when we're not dying. It's like initially I did this because I had insomnia, and this whole process is actually quite fun if you can't go to sleep and you have like nice music playing in the background. No, I mean, yeah, it's just really practice. It's just really practice. And it's good that if you have like, let's say I make a model for you, you don't like the eyes, because in VaM, there's only like a limit to how much you can change the morphs, so you can, you know, do this yourself. Once you understand the process, you can start changing the textures a bit. You don't really have to port like the entire model, right? You can just do an alteration to a model that you kind of like. Maybe the eyes are too big, the nose is too big, or it's too small, you don't like where the teeth is. So this entire process will help you learn how to edit that model as well, because it's basically the same process. But yeah, furry models are quite difficult. I have done one semi-furry model, and that's the Lilia. I think she's from League of Legends, the Centaur. And there was no way in hell I could do the whole Centaur because, you know, they've got 4 legs, and you can't really change much of this mesh. So I made her like a humanoid, but I kept the hooves. So I basically crushed the feet into like a rough like hoof shape. I might release that one day, but I'm still not too happy about that because she didn't really come with any clothing either. It's just like a bare body that looks like a deer, kind of. She's kind of cute. She's got a cute face, but like the textures and all that were a little bit. I'm not too confident with that, so that's why I never really did any furry models afterwards. Hey, good night, Box Tacky. Good night. Thanks for coming, by the way. Yeah, I wonder how many people are coming in. They see like a VTuber girl and it's like a man voice. And then people immediately go away. I can see the analytics, by the way. It's kind of funny. But I like a little bit of humor, so it's all good. Keeps things interesting. And, you know, if you've done as many VTuber reports as I did, the VTuber brain rot really gets into you. And you'll be like, you know, you're like, hey, what if? What if? Anyways, I don't think there's any more questions. I'll just end the stream now. If you've got any questions, you can ask me next stream or just ask me directly on Discord. I'll be really happy to help. I hope this helps you guys out. If this goes well, then this should be recorded on YouTube as well. So this will be like as a reference. I'm not sure how much I can edit that. I want to edit below. I want to edit a little bit of the fat away, so it's a little bit more concise. But I think you know, like a little bit of help is better than nothing, right? Like a guide, no matter how bad, is better than no guide. So yeah, it's almost 12 p.m. right now. I'm just gonna leave for you guys at night. Good night. The poll will be up later on. I'll see you guys then. Bye bye.